I am so excited to see your beautiful faces, even those that I cannot see your faces. I know you. I know your souls. I know your names. So welcome to the Discerning Your Intuitive Voice webinar. Make sure as you come into the room, that you're muted. It will provide for a much better recording, and all of you will get the recording afterwards, as well as anybody else who has registered but was unable to join us live. So yay, here we go. This is my favorite topic in the world, of course. So if you don't already have paper and a pen, grab it now. And we will begin. So I am Stephanie Banks, and I'm so happy to be teaching this Discerning Your Intuitive Voice webinar. Some of you know me, but for those of you that don't, I'm a professional intuitive channel, which means that I use my sense of intuition to bring in messages from souls and spirit to support my clients in their personal and professional lives. So basically, I have found a way to get paid to use my intuition. Yes. Highly recommend it, and you can too, because our intuition is designed to serve us in all areas of our lives. So let's see here. I've traveled the country teaching workshops about intuition, and what I will be doing in this webinar tonight is sharing some very key tools, strategies, techniques that will help you to discern between the perhaps many, but at least two differing voices, competing voices that we have as humans that kind of sometimes block each other out. So my aim for you is to walk through these experiences that we'll do together and enhance your recognition of and your connection to your intuition. This is an experiential webinar, so that's why I'm not using any slides. I don't want to overactivate the thinking mind as much as I want to keep you present to your receptive mind. And at the end of this webinar, I have two special offers, so stay tuned for that. So I'm going to take you on a journey into your intuition tonight, but before we do that, let me satisfy your thinking mind, your intellect, with some information about intuition. And we're also going to be using the chat box. So let me pull that up so I can see. So please do type things in as we're going along. And if you have questions that pop up, feel free to use the chat box for questions as well. I will do my best to check and answer those. So what is intuition? Intuition is the voice of your spirit. I also call it your inner wisdom, and it resides in the heart space. Intuition is your inner GPS. It is intended to be our navigational system. And we humans are six sensory beings. The intuition is our sixth sense. So let's talk about the voice of intuition versus the voice of ego. I think we are all familiar with the ego voice. It's ever present, especially in these intense times. So I'm going to throw some words out there, and I want you, using the chat box, to tell me if the descriptive word I'm giving you falls into the category of ego voice or intuitive voice. So just write ego or intuition. All right, here's the first word. Anxious. Okay, all right, got a lot of egos flowing there. How about this one? Insecure. How about this one? Still. You guys are good. Wise. Demanding. Feeling. Oh, good. Okay, interesting. We have a mix of answers in that one. Thinking. Okay, quiet. I don't know if we did that one. Okay. Calm. Okay, You guys are good. Okay, I didn't really get to stump anyone. The only thing I would say that there's a split on based on your responses is feeling. So let's talk about that for a moment. So the voice of intuition is a feeling voice, let's call it. You know what is true in your intuition based on how you feel. It is not a thinking voice. It is not one that you are logicking your way through. So I see the way it could be considered both, but for tonight's purposes and descriptions, it's going to fall into, the intuitive voice is going to fall into the feeling category because our intuition is based on our feelings. All right, you might recall that you filled out a brief questionnaire when you registered for this call, and almost all of you said that your voice of intuition is very soft and subtle. So right on for that. It totally is. And that's the challenge, right? Because we, in our current culture and with everything going on in the external world, things are getting louder and they're getting louder and they're getting louder. And it is very hard to hear and listen and attune to something that is so subtle. But the voice of intuition is just that. It is very, very subtle. So our job, our work, to connect to and enhance and develop our intuition is to bring our frequency to the subtle. And we cannot do that from the frantic, frenetic energy and loudness and insecurity and all of the things that are being nurtured in the outer world. We cannot hear our intuition if we've got all that noise going constantly. It can be on the outside of us, but in terms of what we spin inside, we have to meet the intuition at the frequency where it is, which is soft and subtle and peaceful and calm. And so that is why meditation is so effective, and any other techniques, and we're going to be practicing some of them, will be very effective to bring you right into that frequency so you can hear, so you can know, so you can discern one from the other. All right. So let's talk a moment about the brain. This is one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein. He said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." So again, this is our work. This is why all of us, all of you gorgeous souls, have chosen to come through now at this time to honor the gift, to develop your intuition, to bring about the shift, the planetary shift that we're here to bring about and be part of, so that we can all thrive, all connect, all be in our greatest, most expansive selves. So let's talk for a moment. There's two halves of the brain, two hemispheres, a left and a right. And the left brain is outer focused. It's problem solving. It's known as your intellect. It deals with logic and reasoning. We are so lucky to have that left brain. So we're not even knocking ego in this webinar. We've got it all, and we need to learn how to use and tap into and balance in different ways. That's all. So the left brain, the logic, likes to argue with the right brain and instead of trusting it. So that's another level of challenge that we have. The right brain is receptive, it's creative, it's intuitive, it's the place of spiritual connection, and it connects to the subtle frequency of consciousness. So for those of you that have watched my TEDx talk, and I hope that you will if you have not, there's a portion in there where I go through that, what I've just talked about, the right brain and the left brain. I didn't make this up. In fact, I was so delighted to see Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor's TEDx talk on the brain. She wrote an amazing book called My Stroke of Insight. And she's a neuroanatomist, and she describes the right and left brain beautifully. So check out that TED talk as well. So let's see here. The right brain is designed to be our guide, with the left brain, the intellect, executing the tasks that the intuition gives it. So in an ideal balanced being, we would rely on our intuition to chart our course while the intellect works out the problems to get us to the destination. Does that always happen? No, we have a lot of other influences. We have what we've been exposed to from childhood and what happens in our culture and our conditioning and our society. But in an ideal balanced being, that is how things would function. Our culture, as you probably know, places a very high value on the intellect and a much lower value, if any, on intuition, spiritual connection, or consciousness. Now, we are probably noticing, I certainly am, that is changing, thank goodness, but it's a slow shift, a slow change, and we are all part of that. So most of us have a highly developed intellect, yay for highly developed intellects, and a lesser developed intuition. That's the bad news. Okay. But the good news is that you can change that. And I will show you how to get started. So let's talk briefly first about the heart. Because in my experience and in my opinion, the heart is the powerhouse for intuition. The intelligence and intuitive perception of the heart allows us to transcend the mind's limitations. The heart connects us to worlds beyond what our physical senses can perceive. We can connect to each other through the heart. We can sense how another person is feeling by attuning to the heart. We can even sense their intentions, all through the heart. The heart allows us to feel love and connection and receive guidance to serve our highest good. So while our minds are so fabulous at keeping us rooted in this present third dimensional reality, our hearts can travel more freely. And when I channel, I'm receiving information, impulses, and guidance through my heart, as well as language and imagery through my imagination and my right brain. So learning to listen more deeply to the heart can provide immediate access to your intuition. If you want to be more amazed by your heart, I want you to check out heartmath.org. It's the HeartMath Institute, and it will blow your mind what your heart can do. These are scientists and researchers that are literally paving the way, showing us how amazing the heart is with its electrical everything. So check that out. Okay, so let's do a little exploration. For a few moments, I'm going to ask you to conjure something that you are worried or upset about. You probably won't have to think about this for too long. And don't worry, we're not going to stay in that state for very long either. It's just for the purpose of observing. So go ahead and close your eyes if you feel comfortable and safe doing so. And think of something that you have been ruminating about. It could be a difficult conversation you had, or a challenging relationship, perhaps, or something that you're dreading or avoiding or even really angry about. Let that all come up for you. And let your mind do what it does. Let it create all sorts of language and thoughts, ideas, and images around that intense feeling. Now, stay there. Let the observer in you just notice with interest and curiosity where that worried, anxious energy is affecting your body. Is there tension anywhere? Is there a change in your heart rate? Has your breathing changed? You're just noticing. Okay, now open your eyes. And if you would, using the chat box, just type in a little bit of what you noticed. Okay, so tension, increased heart rate, clenched jaw, my heart raced, shoulders, anxiety, tension in the belly, and contraction in the heart, anxiety, bothered stomach. Beautiful. Accelerated heart rate, chest tightness, fidgety. Yes. Heart rate sped up a bit, breathing slowed, stomach clenched up, anxious, tension, short, quick breaths. Great, guys. I mean, not great that you experienced that, but great that you noticed that. That is so important because we can be the observer of this. It's information. We can use that information. Beautiful. Okay, so guess what? That was the voice of ego. We just activated the ego. We don't have to work very hard to do that. We don't even have to will it into being. It just happens quite naturally. I guided you to it and you jumped right in, right? Anyone have a hard time going there? Probably not. It's almost effortless how we can drop into the anxious, constricted state. And since we have so much practice in that state, it tends to be our go-to state. So let's tap into the intuition of the wise heart now. Go back in, close your eyes, and just tap back into the worry or challenge that you just focused on. Except now you're going to put one or both hands over your heart. And you're going to activate that wisdom and guidance. You're going to breathe in and out through the heart space. Breathing in through the front of the heart and exhaling out the back of the heart. In this state of stillness, ask your heart for insight and support around the specific challenge you're facing or the difficult feeling you're experiencing. Stay with the stillness as you breathe in and out through your heart. And you might ask of your heart something like, what do I need to do or understand about this situation or feeling that will serve my highest good? Just spend a few more moments here, breathing through your heart, listening to whatever your heart wants to share with you or show you, receiving and breathing. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and let's chat in the chat box again. What did you get? What did you feel, receive, sense? And it's fine if you get nothing too, by the way, or if you think you got nothing. Love and forgiveness, calm. The answer is already here now. Peace and calm, the answer to my question, that all is well. Calm in my innate power. The answer was easy and simple. Wow. I'll be okay. I have my back. I love that. My inner voice telling me it would be okay with some details, but better than I thought. Try to understand what the other person's going through and try not to take things personally. Guys, this is brilliant, right? Your hearts are brilliant. You see how wise the wise heart is? This advice that you're getting, if we apply this in so many arenas of our lives, how much more ease would we create an experience for ourselves and others? So a lot of you are showing that You felt a difference in your body. Did you feel a difference in your body when your fearful mind was activated versus when the wise heart was activated? Is that a yes for a bunch of you? Or no for some of you? Yeah. Okay. So remember that your intuition and the voice of that, the wisdom of your body is linked to that as well. You can use the sensations of the body to let you know what you're actually listening to. If you feel tight, constricted, your jaw is clenched, that is not the voice of intuition. This is how you use the body to discern the wisdom, the intuitive voice. Beautiful. Okay, so your voice of intuition will never be that which creates constriction, fear, worry, or negative sensations. And it is important to be able to quickly discern the different feel and energy of the voice of ego and that of intuition, because if we can't discern it, then we can't choose. If it all feels lumped together and all mushed in as the same, then we are sort of powerless to choose our inner wisdom over that of shoulda, woulda, coulda, egoic training, I'll call it. So if you don't choose, the choice gets made for you based on the habits, based on virtue of what our habits are. And collectively, our habits are, of course, to go to fear and scarcity and insecurity and anxiety. This is not your fault. It's just the intense times that we're in right now. So now we're going to go into a heart-brain coherence activity. And that will help you immediately create the ideal frequency to hear your intuition. So remember, I mentioned earlier, our work, our job is to bring our internal frequency, our vibrational frequency to match the subtle energy of intuition. We can't do this from fear and shouting and all of that intense energy. So before we do that, since I did ask you to conjure up some of the difficult feelings, we're actually going to give our bodies a chance to shake that stuff off. So I'm going to play some drum beats, and I want to invite you to stand up and shake, really shake. And I'll tell you why we shake after we shake, but let's really just shake it out of our bodies. And we're shaking out anything that conjuring those difficult emotions brought in. We're also shaking out anything that does not belong in our energy field or on our physicality anymore, anything we might have been holding or hosting for somebody else. We are shaking free of that now so we can do this next exercise with intuition. So here's your music. Get up and shake. Amazing. That feels so good. Okay, so why do we shake? Well, think about animals in the wild. Your dog was staring at you strangely. Yeah, mine too. Animals know to shake. They know that it resets their nervous system. So if you see, say, like in the savannah, a gazelle narrowly misses being eaten by a lion, she will run off into the woods and just her body, she'll just shake. She'll just let go of all of that tension and all of that energy. And because our bodies are this beautiful vessel of wisdom and information that we do want to stay attuned to. When you shake it out, you are releasing, breaking through, and resetting your nervous system, which our nervous systems are, wow, they're maxed out now, aren't they? There's so much going on in the world. Every time you wake up, right, you almost don't want to even look at what's going on in the news. I don't. So shake, move, dance, whatever moves energy out of your body will be in great service to you feeling and sensing and connecting to your intuition. It's really good exercise. Okay, so let me show you a quick technique for increasing your access to the subtle frequency of intuition by creating heart-brain coherence, which essentially means that your heart rate and your brain waves and your body systems are all operating with increased efficiency and harmony. This is the ideal state with which to tap into your subtle voice of intuition. So get comfortable in your seats. Close your eyes again if you are comfortable doing so. And focus your attention in the area of your heart. If it worked for you to breathe in and out through the heart space, go ahead and do that again. Bringing your breath into a nice, slow, calm pattern, maybe breathing a little deeper than usual if that feels good to you. If you want a suggestion, you can inhale for 5 seconds and exhale for 5 seconds, or really find whatever rhythm is perfect for you. Now, think of someone or something that you absolutely adore. It could be a loved one, a beloved pet, a soft blanket that your grandmother knitted for you. Picture that in your mind's eye. Picture yourself with your beloved person or pet or item and feel the joy, the gratitude, the care, and the appreciation that flows. Maybe you find yourself smiling right now as you breathe in these beautiful regenerative feelings. Continue breathing in and out of the heart space and keep feeling these positive emotions. Now, staying right there in that space of greater coherence, I want you to imagine an uncertainty that you are facing right now, something about which you would like some specific guidance from your intuition. It doesn't have to be the difficult feeling we were working with in the last exercise, something that you feel uncertain about, that you'd like some guidance on. It could be a relationship, something work-related, an upcoming decision maybe, a transition, anything you want clarity on. Once you identify the uncertainty, focus your awareness back on your intuitive heart. Maybe even placing a hand or hands over your heart again. And ask your heart to show you what would serve you. What would serve the highest good? Just sit and listen and notice. You're curious. There are no expectations, and there's no such thing as right and wrong here. Trust what your wise heart shares with you. And now go ahead and open your eyes. And if you would, jot down in the chat box a little bit, whatever you feel comfortable sharing about what did your wise heart reveal to you? What message did you receive? Sometimes it's not through words. Sometimes it's through color, feeling, imagery, sensation, unveiling the truth. Trust. Self-love. It will be okay. Kindness and attention. Beautiful. And if you guys want to journal any of this too, because sometimes the heart gives us such an important piece that we want to remember and journal about, go ahead and use this time for that as well. Time and patience. It's coming next month. Ooh, you got a time frame. Wonderful. So I'm going to ask you, did it feel any easier to access your intuition after doing the heart-brain coherence activity than when we went from the intense emotion state? Yes. Okay. Awesome. So again, the way I posed my question was telling details about when the action would take place, where I needed to be. So a knowing, but then I also saw color flashes. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. If we give our hearts the opportunity to do what they want to do, what they're here to do for us and with us, wow, we can get so much information. So this particular activity, you can do literally in a few minutes time. It's just creating that beautiful, appreciative, grateful state and staying there for a while, letting the body be settled and calm, focusing on that which creates positive emotion, evokes positive feelings for you, and then shift into, you can just glide yourself into oh yeah, and I'd also like some guidance on what to do about my stinky teenager, something like that. It just gives you a nice entry point. And that is also available on the Heart Math Institute's webpage. What we did also with that particular activity, of course, is we shifted our frequency. We shifted our vibration to the subtle, right? We were presencing ourselves to what wished to come through because we were available to it. And we were using the energy of curiosity. A lot of times we can squash our intuition by deciding or insisting rather that there's a right or wrong to it. Like it has to be verified somehow. You don't have to verify your intuition. You don't have to justify it. It just is. It is what is true for you for now. Hard to know if the details are my left brain. How do we know if it's intuition versus thinking? Yes. And what color What are color flashes with the eyes closed? Blue, white, yellow flashes of light. So beautiful question. Thank you for asking that. Yes, it's hard to know where it's coming from, right? Because like we talked about, the thinking mind wants to validate and verify and be factual about things, the logic, the intellect. And then the intuitive side is, well, this is just what is true right now. This is just what is right now. So the way that you know is based on how you feel and what we talked about earlier with the emotional states. Is there constriction around what you're receiving? If so, it is not likely to be the voice of intuition. Intuition is a soft, subtle voice that will nudge you in the right direction. Now, it's a little different than like an instinct that will keep you safe from getting in an elevator with somebody who feels totally dangerous to you. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the subtle, intuitive voice. So that's what I would say. Pay attention to how it feels in your body. And it is very natural to question, am I getting this right? Is this the right thing? And to that, I would say, allow yourself to just claim it for that moment. Allow it to be what it is for that. Allow it to be right for that moment. You can always change and shift or choose something different or something else. Just because you get a sense for something at a certain point in time does not mean you have to act from that sense in every situation forevermore based on what you got. You want to keep tuning in and attuning to what is true for each subsequent moment. So I hope that makes some sense. And then in terms of colors, I can't tell you what the significance is for the colors you were seeing. It would be interesting to know if there were like images within the colors. But I'm sure that you could Google the significance of certain colors, just like you can Google the significance of certain power animals that come to us and find all sorts of meaning there. So that is what I would encourage you to let your curiosity take you down that path and see what you get there. Just flashes. Yeah. Well, it's part of the language of intuition. It's not always coming through with words. But as we spend more time in it, you will understand more about it. You will recognize things will make more sense. Any other questions, guys, so far? Just type them up. Now is a good time to do that. Where do you find that you get hung up on your intuition? Trusting it. Yes. Okay. Let's talk about trust for a moment. It's a really big deal. Trusting is a big one. How do you decide when you are going to trust another person? And I really want you to type this up in the chat box. Like what makes you trust me and what I'm saying enough to sign up for this webinar and spend your time with me here, which I'm so grateful for. What about me or you allowed there to be trust in this dynamic? Okay, so some of you have worked with me, yes. So in our working relationship, we have developed trust, yes. Yeah, how you feel about the person, your gut, right? Your gut is an excellent, excellent system to tell you if you feel safe and if there can be trust. You can trust the person that you're with. Feelings. Yes, feelings. Remember we talked about the thinking mind, the feeling mind. Intuition is based on the feelings. So we have to it's best to be able to trust your feelings. Remember that the left brain wants to argue. It wants to talk us out of things, especially if those things can't be validated or verified. And your feelings can't be verified other than by you who is experiencing them. So when you have the feeling, you can trust your feeling. It is there to guide you. It is there for information. It is there for good reason. Sometimes we misjudge people, but that does not mean that our feeling about them was wrong. That means at the moment that we had the feeling that brought up the mistrust or the judgment or the doubt, that was where we were then. That was what was true for us then. Let me make sure I'm catching all these. Okay. So someone is saying they're not receiving anything right now in these activities. Perfect. Do not worry about that. Don't worry about that. Here's what I would say. You are receiving. You are receiving. But just like any new skill, it takes a while to build our confidence and our trust in it, and that only comes with practice. It's not an overnight thing. I spent many, many months, years even, doubting what I was receiving, doubting intuitive messages that I was getting as well. It's very, very normal and natural to feel like that. And instead of feeling like there's nothing here, what you can say is just a slight shift into it's here. I'm just not fully present to it right now. And I'm working on that. I'm working on attuning to what is subtle, what is invisible, what is unseen. Checking out your questions here. Okay, hold on. Wait, let me see here. Someone said that they're always cautious. That's fine. Listen, we have learned ways to keep ourselves safe. And I will not nudge you out of doing what feels safe for you to do. When you feel that you're with someone that you can stretch a bit with and expand a little bit more and try something out like this, do so. Just attune, just let yourself go a little bit further. Being cautious is not a bad thing. It can impede the rate of growth that you might want, but trust that you're cautious for a reason. You've learned that as for self-preservation or any other important reason. Just follow the niggling feeling within. Yes, isn't that a wonderful word, niggling? It's like it keeps nudging at us. Go with one that doesn't argue. Yeah, go with a voice that's not arguing with you. Oh, that sounds very relieving, very open. What about the difference between recognizing and acting on intuition? The fear of acting on what we know. Okay. So I want to understand that question a little bit more before I answer it. So would the person who wrote that just expand a tiny bit more? Are you asking for, if you get a sense that something might happen to someone, or you want to forewarn them about something? Is it that kind of an intuition about something, or what exactly, so that I can answer that properly? I look for someone communicating authentically. Yes.
Stephanie, that was my question.
Okay.
More just if you don't have a problem receiving the intuition per se, but just that next step of actually taking it to the next step and acting on it.
Okay.
Any
Perfect.
thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. Tons of thoughts on that. And here's where I fall in that. It is far better to just be in the knowing, in the receiving of what you've gotten intuitively, than to share it for a while. And I say this because we can cause a lot of chaos and fear in others if we share something that might be what we are very solid on understanding or knowing, and the other person either isn't ready to hear that, doesn't want to hear that, doesn't know what to do with that. We might feel like we're doing a great service by sharing in that way, but then they go off and they are spinning. And I know this from professional experience, from working with very, very well-meaning people who received or felt they received something about someone else and then took it to them as a warning of sorts, and caused a lot of fear in that person, unintentionally, of course, but nonetheless. So what I do and what I've done for years is if I'm receiving some type of impulse or information and it really has to do with someone else, I will sit with it and I will almost always be silent about it. But I will also ask my guides or my heart, since we're working a lot with the heart in this webinar, is this meant to be shared? And if you are still, if you are nurturing and cultivating the frequency of intuition, the still presence, you will be able to hear your heart's response to that. It's a yes or no. And if it is a yes to share it, then I say proceed with caution. And make sure that what you are sharing is not something that could potentially create confusion or chaos or fear in the other person. Because just like with any type of intuitive work or channeling that I do, I know I can sense and feel and understand what the messages are bringing. And I usually get just the right language and words to portray it, but still there's a little gap there. The person that I'm sharing with does not have the full picture that I do. I cannot beam the images that I am seeing in my imagination, in my mind's eye, to them. I have to describe them. So there's always going to be a space of potential misunderstanding or misinterpretation. So it's a great question. Is there a difference between, you're welcome, is there a difference between hearing something from your heart versus intuition? If so, please explain. So for this webinar, and really the way that I feel about the heart, for me, it is the place of intuition. The right brain also, as I've discussed, is receptive and intuitive, and can, in an ideal balanced being, work together with both sides. So that one is the leader, the other is the follower, executing the orders from the leader. But in terms of hearing, I hear from my heart. When I'm hearing messages, obviously it's not through the sound waves. So sometimes it can sound confusing to say, well, this is what I'm hearing right now, but it is still a type of hearing. And I know that's hard to explain, but I know that you're asking that because, are you asking that because you do hear things as well? And you can just message me back about that question. So I'm not distinguishing the heart. So I'm suggesting the heart is intuitive. So what is coming from or through the heart is your intuition. Yeah, you don't know how else to describe it. Right. It is, that's why I call it hearing or sensing, or for some people it's seeing, for some people it's feeling, they feel things in their bodies. There's so many ways for intuition to express itself through us. And it's all right. Try not to get trapped in the right and wrong of it, because that's a trap of the mind. And that will, again, squash and disconnect you from your intuition. These are great questions, guys. Anyone else have questions? Just making sure I'm not missing any. So hearing, as in hearing words or sounds, yes, some people do. Some people do. But again, it's not through the sound waves, the little hair cells that are in our ears. It's an intuitive hearing. But sometimes, let's say you have a loved one on the other side and you sit in meditation and you're really close to them and you want to hear their voice again. A lot of times, if you get to that settled place, you can conjure hearing that loved one's voice again. Sometimes there is smelling that people experience as a sensory experience as well. As part of the intuitive connection, you can actually smell that person's cologne or perfume or natural scent. But yes, that's hearing words or sounds, messages, sentences, etc. Beautiful. So if there's any more questions, go ahead and type them up. I will take a look, but I want to wrap us up here. So we just by reviewing. So we learned that the voice of intuition is soft, peaceful, subtle, and it's our job to match its frequency. We learned that the right side of the brain is the creative, receptive, intuitive side, and it's meant to be the guide, with the left side, the intellect, following its leadership. We learn that the heart is perhaps the most intuitive organ. We practiced activating the intuitive capacity of the heart and listening to it. We experienced the value of shaking our bodies to break up stagnant energy and maintain a healthy energetic flow so our intuition can be experienced. And so what are some of your takeaways here? What is one thing that you're leaving with? Oh, something a little new that you didn't know before, or maybe you had a sense for and it just kind of settled in a deeper way. Type that up in the chat if you would, please, so we can anchor in that as well. Tapping into the heart space. Awesome. The value and purpose of shaking. Yeah. Beautiful. I need to sit in calmness more often to match the frequency of the intuition or heart to hear or sense it. Yes. Gorgeous, guys. Yeah. Beautiful. Shaking to reset and be in tune, trusting the voice within when I'm not feeling tension in my body and feeling still. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Beautiful. So we are capable here. All of us are sixth sensory beings. If you work on this, and work really is about rest, isn't it? It's a weird word to use to say work because it's about stillness and about rest and about deep listening and attunement. Okay, let me get this question here. I think I can understand intuition flowing through the right brain, but I'm struggling to understand about intuition flowing through the heart. Could you please elaborate? Yes. And someone wrote, I need to strengthen my right brain. Yes. Confirmation. It is okay to be cautious. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. I'm gonna use the example of the brain as like a cohesive organ, right? The right side and the left side are connected with tissue. They pass messages back and forth. They are designed to work in concert with each other, not to have one be a super strong muscle. It's like, right, the right muscle, if you're right-handed, is always stronger. Well, in the brain, you want both sides to be equal in strength. So the heart doesn't have anything competing with it. It is designed perfectly to receive and attune to what is all around, sometimes even that which is much farther than anything than the brain can perceive, the heart can. So that is one of the big differences that I would highlight, is that the heart has this enormous capacity to go beyond what we can't see, what we don't know, right? The mind, a lot of it is based on what we know or what we've experienced or what we've read. The heart is just based on what it is bringing in, what it is sensing, what it is feeling. And so that, I hope, is helpful. And I'll say this, if that didn't make sense or it's still a struggle for you, it's okay. Like you can let it go too, because we don't want anything to get in the way of you just activating from the heart. So keep coming back to the heart and letting it have its way, letting it show you the way. The physiological organ of the heart. Yes. And its energy fields, which if you go to heartmath.org, you will see that the heart's electrical field is like 60 times greater than the brain. It's amazing. I don't have all the details on it. I didn't memorize the details on it, but it's astonishing. How we feel physically manifests through the heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And oftentimes, guys, when you feel constriction, I don't know about you, but I almost always feel that first in my heart. that tightness, that it's kind of like a protection, a blocking of things. So yes. Okay. So offers, let me make a special offer to those of you who have watched this webinar and those who are watching the replay of it. The first is a coupon, a discount code. If you would like to schedule a private session with me, there is a 10% off discount. Those of you who've worked with me know I don't really do discounts very often, but the coupon code is, get ready, intuition. So use that. Oh, and here it appears. Use that to get 10% off any of the private sessions where we can really dive in deeper and go into the beyond and hear the messages directly from your spirit, your heart, your soul. Honestly, not to confuse things, but I use those words interchangeably. Soul, heart. There is a difference between spirit and soul. I'll do a different webinar on that. But for now, it is okay to be inclusive with the language. Let it all be for right now. And then the mind doesn't say, well, let me figure this out first, or let me tease this apart. We can just keep going with the practice of it. It will sort itself out. It will sort itself out. And for those of you who want to go even deeper than what we can do in an hour of accessing and developing your intuition, I have a 3-part intuition intensive workshop. So I invite you to that. But there will be a link in here for those of you that want to do a 3-part intensive intuition workshop where the activities will be specifically guided for where you're at and where you wish to go. And I will be also channeling messages to enhance that as well. October 28th is the first. So there's a discount for that as well for people who have taken this, who register from taking this webinar, and you will get that as soon as you register. Okay, my lovelies, we are just perfectly on time. I thank you all for joining me. It is such a pleasure to share with you. I'm so grateful. My heart is so grateful. And practice, just practice. You will build the muscle of intuition. You will build the right brain capacity and even things out. You are so, so welcome. Thank you all as well.